Have you ever really stopped to think about what high intelligence looks like? I mean, we usually picture someone with all the quick answers, right? Top grades, a flashy vocabulary. But what if the real signs are quieter? What if they're hiding in plain sight in the everyday habits of the people all around us? Well, today, we're going to dig into some of those subtle behaviors that might just be the true markers of a sharp mind.
So let me just throw this out there. What if we've been looking at intelligence all wrong? What if it's not really about how many facts you can cram into your brain, but it's actually about the way you navigate your life every single day? How you think, how you deal with people, and where you choose to put your energy.
And that's exactly what we're going to get into. We're going to pull back the curtain on those quiet, often completely overlooked habits that are so deeply connected to high intelligence. So you're going to want to stick around for this because I have a feeling you might just see a bit of yourself in these signs, or maybe see someone you know in a totally new light.
All right, so first up, let's start with what's going on inside, the inner world. Before any action, before any word is spoken, it all begins with a pretty unique way of processing the world around them. This is where the whole foundation of high intelligence is really built.
Now, this idea kind of flips a common belief on its head, doesn't it? We're so often taught that the smartest person in the room is the one doing all the talking. But in reality, highly intelligent people are often the quietest. And it's not because they're shy or have nothing to say. It's because they're busy thinking. Their mental energy is being spent analyzing, connecting dots, and understanding, not just blurting out the first thing that comes to mind. And you can really see the difference right here. Society, it tends to reward the fastest answer, the person who jumps in first. But a truly intelligent mind, they operate on a different wavelength. They choose careful, deliberate observation over a snap judgment. They make decisions based on solid logic, not just because it's the popular thing to do. And they have this incredible ability to just tune out all the noise and focus.
So you might be wondering, how does this super active inner world actually translate to their social life? How do they act around other people? Well, let's jump into our next section and take a look.
This way of thinking often creates this really fascinating persona, what we can call the observant outsider. Now, they aren't disconnected, not at all. In fact, by watching from the sidelines, they often gain a way deeper understanding of people and situations. Their quietness is almost like a superpower, It lets them pick up on all the little details, the body language, the unspoken things that most of us just completely miss.
Just think about the last time you were in a group setting, a meeting, a party, whatever. Was there one person who didn't say much, but then when they finally did speak, everyone just stopped and listened because it was so insightful? Yeah, that's the person we're talking about. They weren't being antisocial, they were gathering data.
And here's the thing, this is all completely intentional. They often actually enjoy silence. They see pointless chatter and small talk as a huge drain on their mental battery. And it's this exact preference for meaningful observation over empty participation that makes them so incredibly good at figuring out what really makes people tick.
So are any of these traits starting to ring a bell, maybe sounding a little familiar? If you're enjoying this deep dive into the human mind, just take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. We're always exploring fascinating stuff like this, trying to figure out what really makes us all tick. Okay, let's move on to their day-to-day lives. As you can probably guess, these internal habits and social patterns end up shaping their entire lifestyle, which, to an outsider, can sometimes look a little unconventional. You've probably heard that old saying, right? That you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? Well, highly intelligent people take this to heart. They are incredibly selective about who they let into their inner circle. They get that the people around them have a huge influence on their mindset and their goals. It's all about quality over quantity, a small circle of meaningful connections over a huge network of superficial ones. And that same selectiveness applies to pretty much everything. They guard their time fiercely, pouring it into self-improvement instead of getting sucked into meaningless distractions. Same thing with money. Their spending is a deliberate reflection of their values, not just random impulse buys. And this last one might surprise you. A lot of them are night owls. They absolutely thrive in those quiet, late-night hours when the world is asleep and they can finally read, learn, and just think.
So when you look at the big picture, you see that their resources, their time, their money, their energy, they aren't just spent, they are invested. They're strategically poured into deep, focused work, into constant learning, into nurturing those few truly meaningful relationships, and of course, into getting the rest they need to keep their mind sharp.
So what's the engine driving all of this? What's the real motivation here? Well, our final section gets to the core of it all, a relentless, almost unstoppable drive for personal growth.
It really comes down to these 3 key things.
First, you've got this deep, insatiable curiosity, that constant need to know why. Then there's adaptability, which is the crucial skill of being able to pivot when life throws you a curveball. And finally, resourcefulness, that amazing knack for finding a way to get things done no matter what.
That curiosity we mentioned, it's not just a casual interest. It is a fundamental part of who they are. They are always asking questions, always exploring some new topic, and always trying to get a deeper understanding of how things work. For them, just scratching the surface is never, ever enough. And this quote really sums up their entire philosophy. For them, getting a diploma isn't the finish line. It's just the starting gun. Learning is a continuous part of life, just like eating or sleeping. There is always something new to discover. And finally, maybe the most important trait of all is their adaptability. When things go wrong, and they always do, they don't freeze up or quit. They see setbacks not as failures, but as feedback, as new information. They just adjust their strategy, find a new path, and keep pushing forward. That right there is practical, real-world intelligence in action.
So, what do you think? Did this change your perspective on what intelligence really is? If it made you think, maybe share it with a friend who'd find it interesting. And I'd honestly love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these signs really hit home for you.
So I'll leave you with this one last thing to chew on. In a world that's always celebrating the loudest and the fastest, how many quiet, observant, truly brilliant people do we just walk past every single day simply because we're not looking for the right signs? Makes you think, doesn't it?